Okay, so today we're going to go ahead and review how to find the area of a triangle. And you'll notice that we're going to have two different triangles. So this is number one that we're going to work with, and then this one's number two. So the main difference here is this is a right triangle. It does have a right angle, which means the base and the height meet at a right angle. This one over here is not a right triangle. I would say this is a scalene triangle. None of these angles here are going to be congruent. None of them are right angles. So this is going to be definitely a scalene triangle. So it's going to be the same formula, but we're going to have to look at it a little bit differently. So we're going to start with this one. And the first thing that I tell my kids to do every single time is to write the formula. So the formula, according to the 7th grade formula chart, is A equals 1/2 BH. So area equals 1/2 of the base times the height. So the first thing we're going to do is write our formula, and then we're going to fill in the information that we know. And we're actually going to use a calculator on this one today just to kind of save some time. I know in 7th grade we don't get one, but we're really more worried about the skill of finding the area of a triangle. So I'm going to fill in what I know. I don't know the area, so it's going to come down. I'm going to bring the 1/2 down because we haven't used that piece of information yet. And then the base of this triangle, I'm going to say is 15.6 feet. So I'm going to put 15.6 where that B is for base. And the height, notice there's two pieces of information that we could use. So here's how you identify the height. The base and the height always have to meet at a right angle. So notice the only one that meets 15.6 at a right angle is this 10.3. So 10.3 is going to be our height. 18.7 is what we call the slant height. So we're not going to use that. They do probably throw that in there to confuse us a little bit. So absolutely, we've got our formula written. Now what we need to do is kind of finish order of operations. So I would say the first thing we need, this is basically 1/2 times 15.6 times 10.3. So the first thing that we could do, we could go ahead and take half of 15.6, but I think in this case it's easier to go ahead and just do 15.6 times 10.3. So we're going to take the 1/2, bring it down because we haven't used it yet, and 15.6 times 10.3 is 160 and 68 hundredths. So we need half of 160 and 68 hundredths. So there's two different ways that I can find 1/2. So to find 1/2 of something, multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2, or it's the same as multiplying by 0.5. So I could do either one. I could do 160.68 times 0.5 and get the answer, or I could do 160.68 divided by 2 and get the answer. Either way, it's going to be the same, mathematically the same answer, and when we do that, we get 80.34. So our final answer here, the area is equal to 80 and 34 hundredths, and we're going to go back and look at our unit, feet squared. Okay, you can't really see that there. 80 and 34 hundredths feet squared. So that's our first example. Let's take a look at our second example and why it might be a little bit different. So the same exact thing we're going to do is write our formula. So our formula is still A equals 1/2 BH. So we're going to fill in what we know. We're going to bring the 1/2 down, and now I need to find the base of my triangle. So if you'll remember what I said earlier, the base and the height have to meet at a right angle. So the only two things, if I were to extend this line right here, the only two things that meet at a right angle is this and this. So this right here, if it were to extend, it would meet this at a right angle. So this 4.2 is going to be our base, and this 6 centimeters is going to be our height. Again, 7.3 and 10.2, those are just extra pieces of information that we don't need. That's why this one's a little bit different. We have to know that the base and the height meet at a right angle. So we're going to plug in for our base. We said it's going to be 4.2, and then our height is 6 centimeters. Same thing as last time. We're going to go ahead and do 4.2 times 6, and that's 25.2. So we want half of 25.2. Remember, 2 ways to find 1/2. You can divide by 2, or you can multiply by 0.5. So again, I could do 25.2 times 0.5, or I could do 25.2 divided by 2. It's going to get me the same answer either way. So my final answer would be A equals 12.6 centimeters squared because it's area. Again, I think the main things for us to make sure is that we're just understanding that the height and the base always meet at a right angle, because sometimes they're going to have, shapes in different areas. They're going to have shapes in different ways. Maybe I have one that looks like this. Neither one of these sides meet the base at a right angle. So what you would probably see is you'd see a height coming down from the middle, and that would be your height that you would want to use in your formula.